everybody. Welcome back to Bourbon Banter Evans. We're doing a little collaboration here with Augusta Bourbon Society. We have Stephen, Patrick, and Patrick from Augusta Bourbon Society. Justin, what's in store for us today?
Well, first off, thank you, Augusta Bourbon Society, for coming up with the idea to do this collab with Bourbon Banter Evans. And you guys said it was popular. Let's talk about it. How about some toasted barrels or toasted bourbons, depending on how you want to say it. I say it's a toasted barrel that creates a good bourbon. Other than that, let's discuss, let's talk about what toasting is. Let's get into the minds of Augusta Bourbon Society. That's actually a growing thing, or an entity, whatever you want to call it, site, and members in the Augusta area, which we all know that we're Evans. Augusta is right next to it. It's the next city. So I'd say we're about 15 minutes apart. I say let's grab a pour, figure out what we're going to go with first, and let's talk about some bourbon. You guys good with that?
Good with that.
Thank you again for joining in. What are we going to start with?
You want to do some Elijah Craig?
Start with a toasted barrel. It's 94 proof. Elijah Craig.
It's such a solid pour. This is one of my top three. And when you find it, it's so decently priced and it's so delicious, and it's hard to beat that combination, right?
The only downside that I found with Elijah Craig Toasted is that they did their whole Heaven Hill increase. And so back when they first rolled out, the price was great. I'm not saying the price is bad now. The price is still good. It's just, it's a shame that, you know, the way the world works is increases happen, and we now have to take price increases on a lot of things. And
Well,
so,
without trying to get into a completely different subject, everything's been increasing.
exactly. And so it's as expected. It's just a shame because, you know, as you find that really good bourbon that you really want, in this case, the Toasted World, this is one of the first ones that came out with a lot of buzz. It had the whole area talking about, you know, let's go get a toasted this or a toasted that. Elijah Craig Toasted came out with a storm, and then it's just a shame when you knew what it was, and then it had a little bit of a spike after that. But that's, like you said, that's the way the world is working now as far as that goes. So again, BBE meets ABS. So cheers to you guys. I'll have the first one.
Thanks for having us.
Go to that side. We'll go to Charles here.
Oh, yeah, here you go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Now, I've said this before in the past. If you guys ever want to look that up, if you actually do a cheers, clink, and then you actually hit your glass on the bottom and then take a sip, there's actually a reason that occurs. So I encourage everybody to look that up as to why.
All right,
Okay.
toasted, huh?
Toasted. Toasted is the theme. Toasted is the idea. We've actually got some people in the background too. If they come up with any questions or if they've got any ideas, feel free to actually say any questions or come up with anything. Just shout it out. You guys will be in the background like we've had in the past before. And so you might hear some voices. If that's the case, then that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
I mean, this is absolutely solid. I mean, you get that nice oaky taste to it, but I get a little bit of marshmallow as well from it, as far as that sweet.
That's not the first time that we've heard somebody say marshmallow with toasted.
Yeah.
I mean, just such a solid, all around, the taste, the price. I mean, I might be a little biased because it's one of my top
favorites,
three,
yeah.
but just all around, wow.
It is very light.
That's
It
what
is
I get. It's very
exceptionally
light.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you don't necessarily have. We talked about this earlier before we started filming. I'm a one rock in my bourbon sort of guy, and this is one that I don't necessarily feel like I have to do that.
Yeah.
Or your proof is low enough that you're not burning palates. It's pretty. I mean,
Very approachable.
Yeah.
And so in this, what I would say in this toasted barrel situation, this is a very drinkability high. It's got that drinkability level that it's up. And also, let me interject, and I apologize to interrupt, and I'll stop. No, I probably won't. So that being said, are you an admin?
No.
Okay, so we do have the two of the admins at ABS.
Yes.
So Patrick and Patrick, they coordinated their names on purpose.
Oh yeah.
And just to mention, all of our videos are uncut, unfiltered, just like a lot of the whiskeys we enjoy, and some of these might be on the table as well. So back to what you're saying, I just wanted to let everybody know that you guys were the admins. These aren't just regular guys off the street. It's the
we're
famous
100%
It's the
regular guys.
famous ones. The famous ones from Augusta Bourbon Society. You see them, greet them.
Yep, definitely.
Well, it's so you mentioned Augusta Bourbon Society is close to Evans. We don't discriminate. You can be in Evans, you can be Columbia County and still be members of Augusta Bourbon Society. I live in North Augusta. I think you're out.
I'm in Augusta Bourbon.
Yeah.
So it's really we started it a couple of years ago, before COVID, almost 4 years ago was when the group was kind of founded. It was just a bunch of like-minded guys that wanted to get together, talk education, learn about stuff, share a bunch of links, and then it's grown into something now that we're doing barrel picks. We're doing all kinds of stuff.
It's pretty cool, and I appreciate you guys letting us come in and do a little collab with the video, get some nerdy toasted stuff on, and keep in mind you can go on to Augusta Bourbon Society as far as social media goes. I know they're on Facebook. I'm not sure about Instagram. And of course, Bourbon Banter Evans, we are on
Instagram, Facebook.
like and subscribe.
Yep,
I think is
like
what
and
Charles does the
subscribe.
best at saying.
YouTube. Hit that button, like, subscribe, guys.
Yeah.
But
So-
go ahead.
Go,
Justin.
no, I was going to say, back to the bourbon.
No, I was just gonna say. All right. So, what made you guys decide you wanted to do toasted? Is it because it's the new kind of everything you hear now with the
So
new craze?
I've had a lot of people ask me about different kinds of toasted, and is it worth it? Is it worth the hunt? Is it worth is it worth trying to pay the certain prices for it? And if you have so many people ask about it, I was like, you know what? Why not just make a video of it to where instead of having answered the same question 8 times, like, hey, let's get some people who have different palates.
Yep.
Let's get together, try different brands, and see what's going on and see what everybody thinks. So that way, if you find somebody who has a like-minded palate, you can kind of.
I'm glad you said that because everybody's palate is different, and just because I might like one toasted better than the next toasted doesn't mean that you're not going to like all of the toasted ones. And I look forward to trying one on this table in front of me, which I'm going to go to probably out of the line, just because I want my palate to be fresh. I'm going to get some water, rinse it out. I'm going to nose it the right way. It's because I don't like it, and so I'm going to try to see if I can like it, or if my palate is different today based off of what I've eaten, so on and so forth. All those things definitely affect what you're doing as far as tasting whiskey and actually tasting a lot of things, but that's what I'm going to do, and that's just going to be a personal challenge for me to see if I can be like, all right, I was just having a bad day, let's try this brand.
Are we allowed to know which one you don't like?
Oh yeah, I'm going to tell you. Yeah.
Well,
and so
I'm also curious with the toasted and getting into the thing with toasted. If you were to have regular Elijah Craig to the toasted, to me, the toasted seems to be a lot. It's kind of, to me, it's lacking depth a little bit than a regular Elijah Craig. That's just what I've seen with this toasted. Not bad at all and everything. It just doesn't seem to have the depth of just a straight bourbon.
And I think you're right on that. To me, it falls off a little bit. It's got that lighter. It's easier to drink. Again, the drinkability is really high on it, which I'm a big fan of, and everybody knows that. But it is a little bit on the, once you've had regular Elijah Craig and you follow that standard mash that they use, so Elijah Craig's got several different mashes that they use. It's not the same as the BT1, BT2, and in the rye. It's got a lot of custom mashes that go involved with Heaven Hill that they get a lot of their sourcing that they get out to, but their standard mashes like your Elijah Craig, your Heaven Hill products, your Evan Williams, pretty much everything in that line. Then they decide to go and put into a toasted barrel, which as soon as we go to the next one, we'll get a little bit more into the information of toasting and things like that. And so we'll break off into that. But the toasting that this one did, what I read on a couple of cooperages and being to a couple of cooperages, is the opposite of what I say I read.
What we've known too.
I was like, I know what I read, but I'm not seeing what they're saying, and that's just kind of, I'm at an impasse in my head.
Time? I mean, how much time is that one putting on the second barrel versus? Do we know?
See, I tried to look that up as well when I reached out to Penelope to get information on that, which we'll get into that when we talk about Penelope. But I couldn't find anything through Heaven Hill, Elijah Craig, any of the resources I found, other than it having the presence of that time and second barrel, but no time frame, no sourcing for cooperage.
A lot of that's the secret sauce, right?
Yeah,
they
just
don't-
they
don't want
have
you
an
to know.
exclusive partnership with a cooperage.
Right.
By the
And
way,
that's it.
uncut, unfiltered, my apologies on the phone.
Jeez.
Yeah. But no, that's what and I think that's pretty cool about that. And one thing I didn't know, because what I've read is kind of, they toast it, then they char it. That's kind of what I was used to. Well, then seeing on the bottle, it says, no, it's finished. So it's finished.
We now
and
have
then-
a double barrel
Yeah.
and a toasted.
Yeah, but it's finished in a toasted barrel. So I when I think of finished ones, I'm thinking of like 1792 port or something.
Yeah,
of that nature.
something along those
Yeah.
lines. All right, well, I say we go ahead and swirl this around with some water, move on to the next one. We still have a certain amount of time. I think Elijah Craig is a must try. If you haven't had it, you should find it and look for it. The price point is there, the quality is there, the taste is there. It's actually one of the more buzzed about toasted that we get questions for, but it's on a ABC release. And so most of the time, and depending on your market, you'll be able to find it 3 times a year in a release. And so it's not like it's limited or allocated or anything like that. There's an amount that you can receive, but there's a big release A, B, and C, kind of with your Elijah Craig barrel proofs, larceny barrel proofs, and things like that.
But when you boil back, I'm sorry, go on.
Well, I was just gonna say I almost never see that behind a bar as well. This is one that you're
A
gonna
lot of
take
it's
home.
retail.
This
Yeah,
is, you
a
take,
lot of it's
you take
retail.
this one home. You sip it at home. Don't expect to see it out.
That's a whole nother conversation that we could have from my standpoint as knowing why that is that way. But we'll stick with the toasted stuff.
That might be another episode.
Yeah, we
No, that's the first time I tried that was actually at a bar.
Oh, was
So
it?
it was
Where did
at
you
a restaurant. It was at a Whiskey Alley in Aiken. They had
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So,
Mm.
And see what I like
3
about
major distributors in South Carolina, completely different ballgame.
So at the end of
Makes
the day,
sense
it
over
might
there.
it might be it might not be as complex
No,
as some of the other
no,
ones.
but it's great.
But what I love about it is that it has a wonderful flavor. It's easy to drink, and it's decently priced.
And I
Have
still
we,
like
have
how
we
they say
discussed
marshmallow.
retail on this one yet?
No, we don't really discuss a
Okay.
whole lot of pricing too much. We did one specific video for that, and we haven't rolled that one out. So we try not to talk about that. We just
Entry level, mid tier, premium. This would be an entry level.
yeah, you could say
product.
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
with
like
the
that.
ones that are lined up there, there's only 2. Like those are the 2 that would be the most easily affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like that every time that I've ever been near anybody trying Elijah Toasted, that somebody is eventually going to bring up marshmallows.
And I
Every
get
time.
I get a sweetness. I don't get a marshmallow.
I get the sweetness, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but to me, instead of marshmallow, I get a
It's
sweetness.
kind of that burnt sugar.
But that's
Yeah.
what that's what I like.
Yeah, I would say that.
That's different palates, and that's
Alright.
that's what's awesome about it.
Shall we move on?
Let's do
Sure.
it.
All right, let's Penelope.
Yep.
All right,
Ooh.
we'll start.
Wait, are we doing
We're
Penelope
going,
next?
We're going.
Yeah.
We're going.
Let's go
You
1910.
want us to
Let's do 1910?
We'll do
Okay.
1910.
So
That's fine.
speaking of 1910, I am wearing an Old Forester shirt.
All right, we're gonna start down here this time.
Charles, can you verify that I have bourbon socks on?
Yes, you do have bourbon socks on, as usual. Yes, you do.
In-house?
In-house.
In-house. So this is one of my all-time favorites from the Whiskey Row Series 1910. So a lot of you guys might be thinking, why in the world are they pouring Old Forester 1910? It uses a second barrel, but nowhere on it does it say toasted. I'm glad that you asked that.
Why is that, Justin?
It's like, well, Jimmy.
So Brown Foreman, who owns Old Forester, Woodford, Jack Daniels, several other brands that we've all heard of, they actually do a toasting and a char. So they don't ever put on their bottles that they're toasted. Chances are, if you're drinking Woodford or an Old Forester product of some sort, more than likely the barrels that were used in the process were actually toasted for a brief moment and then charred. Now, going through the Brown Foreman cooperage, they told us, after trying and trying and trying to tell us what the char and what the toasting level was, they would refuse to tell you that. But it was really cool that they show you what the barrel looks like when they're opened up. They have the half barrel display and the etching that they do for the actual Cooper's Craft and the Jack Sinatra, which is an etching technology that goes through that, and they can show the layers of what the flame does at that time. So, with it being toasted or not being toasted, more than likely, Old Forester and Woodford is toasted and you don't even know it. So you've been drinking toasted bourbon a long time,
For a long time.
but just nobody
Yeah,
ever
really.
said anything. Nobody decided to do the
And-
genius marketing that said, let's
Right.
put toasted on it to create even more buzz as to why I should go buy this product again because it says this word on it, which is another video we could do as far as marketing goes.
Yeah.
And so that's the brief version of why Old Forester is up here as a toasted.
Dude, look at the color difference
Yeah, it's much
between
deeper.
all the rest of them.
Right.
That
Now also a double barrel, just like Elijah. So the color difference, good eye on that. It's very easy to see the color difference on it.
oh yeah,
And I love this stuff.
Yeah,
This
this
is-
has
this
a lot.
is- this
This
is
has a lot more
significantly-
flavor profile, but it's not as sweet as the Elijah Craig to me.
Yeah.
It's completely the opposite, but it continues to open up even more.
Now,
on
now
the
talking
palate.
about the
oh,
toasting.
wow, yeah.
So keep in mind, so Elijah goes through a charred barrel, then they take a second barrel that's toasted. That same cooper that I was talking about earlier says that those barrels that are just toasted, if you were just to age it in that, creates this spiciness that has the vanillins that open up. I don't get spice from anything
No.
toasted. I don't know what you guys do. My palate's different than yours. But this, we know, would be toasted and charred, which a lot of barrels are actually toasted and charred. Now, most toasted barrels go to winemaking, but toasted and charred is actually a thing that happens in bourbon a good bit. So it's just not what they're putting
They
out
just-
there.
yeah, it's
They
not-
might put their mash out there, but they're not always going to put what they do to make their flavor get out there, which we all know how much the barrel imparts flavor into the
And
whiskey.
it's a trade secret for them.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, especially at Brown Foreman,
Yes.
they would not tell us at all. And I was telling Patrick earlier, 150 years worth of work. We were talking to those guys, and they still didn't know. So that's 3 generations that retire at 50 years. At the time, he was at 47 plus. We've got a photo. Super cool guy, super nice. Doesn't have a clue.
So we talked a little bit about,
No idea what the
the name 1910, right? What's the Whiskey Row series? You say everything has a significance.
The
to
year
it.
is very significant to what occurred throughout their history and why the Whiskey Row series is actually putting out the numbers with it. So if you see the 1870, you see the 1897, then you see the 1920, Then you saw the Statesman, and then the 1910 was the most recent, the last release for Whiskey Row. Each one of those years was important to Old Forester and their history of production of their whiskey, which they were the first bottling bourbon.
Well, in 1910 they had the fire. So
Why don't you tell us a little bit?
yeah, so in 1910 they had a cooperage fire, or not cooperage, the rick house.
Yeah,
the
rick
rick house caught fire,
Yep.
and as a result, some of their product had to be rebarreled, which actually led to a double barreling, purely out of necessity, rather than
Save the
looking,
product.
looking
Save the
for
product.
looking for flavor profiles.
Yep.
So, tip of the glass being a toasted, tip of the glass to the 1910 history there.
And so the only thing we don't know for sure, though, is how long, again, tried it,
Yep.
but won't answer, how long have they been imparting both at the Brown-Forman cooperage? I don't know.
Yeah,
Because they won't say.
what we would say is at least since 1910 they've known what that does.
But they know what double
Right?
barreling for
They
sure.
know what happens.
They know what happens.
So I mean, perhaps that just goes into their
Hey,
magic.
yeah,
Goes
I mean,
into the recipe.
They've been experimenting with barrels and stuff for a long time, a lot longer than we've been around for sure. Then you got the father of bourbon, Elijah Craig, because of the charred barrel. There's several different rumors out in Kentucky, and it depends on which one you want to go with. I go with the timeline and the history of the way they created it, and so on and so forth. So I agree with a certain one, but there's other reasons as to why they think it's called bourbon. But
Do you get a toasted? Would you consider this a toasted?
I have no reason to not think this because of Old Forester.
Yeah, I know. No, but I'm just
For
saying,
Brown-Forman.
as what we have up here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there. I didn't see them make it.
I know,
But I saw them make their barrels when we were there.
No. I'm saying I agree that it is a toasted. I agree that it is toasted. But my thing about it is, I get the complexity to me from the other ones. It's just
Yeah,
not.
it's not muted
Yeah.
in any way. It
Yeah.
really just continues to.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
move
if you
along.
and don't get me wrong, the Elijah Craig is great. The Elijah Craig is great. I think this has got more depth to it, more complexity. To it.
It does have a lot more depth. I'm also feeling it's a little drier
It does, yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
That's that second barrel that's been charred past almost holding
Past the alligator char.
past the alligator.
which is what gives you your color.
Yes.
Exactly.
That too.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
that gives a
So
lot.
this is definitely like I said, way more complex. Not nearly as sweet, and
But you get what's funny about it is it's not sweet, but you get essence of sweet things. I mean, I'm told
Yeah,
I got Banana Foster all over
Oh,
on this one.
okay.
Sucking this thing down. It's,
Now,
It's not the first time I've heard somebody say Banana Foster's all drinking 1910.
it's banana. I mean, there's that. There's a little bit of. I mean, I don't know. Tropical. All the tropical notes are coming in. I got a little bit of coconut in there. It's.
and see, I'm,
But,
It's a
but
good-
what's crazy is it's not sweet.
No.
It doesn't have sugar in it, but it does. It's making my brain think that it does.
but at the end of the day, if I were to bump, the Elijah Craig versus the 1910, I'd say definitely that has the sweeter, more marshmallowy, like burnt, or should I say burnt
Yeah.
sugar?
No, you
notes
say
to it.
marshmallow. Yeah.
Versus this one, I get, like I said, definitely more complex, but it's different and it's not nearly as sweet. You don't get that
Yeah.
burnt sugar taste
Yeah.
to it. It's still a very fine product, though.
No, it's a great product.
I think it's interesting. It's 93 proof, and the Elijah Craig is 94, but it finishes almost at 100 to me.
Yeah.
It's way beyond 93 proof, which is that's not a bad thing. But
That's just
it's-
your palate saying
Yeah.
that this is
Yeah.
how it is for you. I
It
mean,
just
that's
continues
yeah.
on for me, and it allows it to open up a little further. So.
Well, let's move on to the next one, Charles, shall we?
Yep. Which one? You want to go one
Well,
on one?
while my palate is still fresh, I'm gonna go off kilter. You guys can go in
I
order.
figured I knew where you were going.
Jeez.
And so I'm gonna go Penelope.
Yep.
So, can I get you to pass me a rock, please?
One rock.
All right.
Charles, what do you know about Penelope?
Not very much.
This is a Georgia Select number 2, 115 proof. Penelope is a group or a couple that started doing
Throw it at you.
their own bourbon theme, if you want to call that, in Kentucky through Castle and Cooper. And
Oh,
so
okay.
it's a really cool idea that they found this whole idea together to come together and have this fun together because it was a couple, and then they called it Penelope. I read all this at one point as to why they called it that. I can't remember, but that's the extent of my knowledge on this, which is very little. This one is 4 to 5 years. It's going to be 115 proof and toasted, right?
Yep.
Toasted we go.
Be very curious to see what they responded with about some of their toasting, the way they do their toasting.
So, in preparation for this, I really wanted to know.
Time out.
Yes.
Steve reached out to Penelope and they sent him a lot of information for how they do their toasting. Time in.
And really appreciate that.
Yeah, so I reached out to Penelope directly, and I kind of explained the background, and where it came from was Short Barrel's most recent release. clearly states on the back of the bottle that its time in the second barrel is 21 days. And in my mind, that doesn't give a lot of time for anything to happen yet, but that's also speaking out of ignorance. I haven't tried it yet. But 3 weeks in a second barrel, I'm like, what kind of maturation? What does that really do to the finished product? So I'm going to pass on this one because I've had most of that bottle already. So,
What's interesting about that is that part of the concept of the rick houses is that you want the temperature change, you want the seasons, it's expanding and contracting the product into the woods at 20. I'm with you at 3 weeks, man.
But you got to remember, if it's a specific toasted barrel only, then according to the coopers that make the barrels, that imparts a whole different dynamic to it.
Not a lot
Right.
of
Which
at all.
I would
It's
have
not
to
very
believe,
harsh.
based off of the nose compared to the other ones, that they're doing the same thing. I don't know what information you have, and I don't know, but I would guess that they're doing a second barrel and straight toasted for X amount of time.
So what he broke it down to, and in fact on the back of the bottles, and it's kind of hard to see obviously on camera, but there's a char level and a toast, and right now they have a char 1 through 5.
Oh, this is yummy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
This is amazing.
This blows 1910 out of water.
due to the lighting.
I bet it's also
Yeah.
not
On camera,
price.
that's what it shows on
But-
the back label as far as the char and the toast and the age and things of
We
that
can
nature.
bring that up too.
Yeah, so it'll be
Light
There we
years
go, we got some
beyond,
light. Thank you,
but
guys.
I know the price of that, and that's entry level pricing.
So it'll be a char 1 through 5, and it'll be a medium or a heavy toast. So the information I got from the gentleman's name is Matt with Penelope. I said, this is what we're seeing out there. We're seeing a lot of unnamed time in barrels, Elijah Craig, and then we're also seeing kind of a defined time in
Right.
the toasted barrel with short barrel. So kind of the Cliff Note versions were they will partner with Speyside, McGinnis, or Kelvin as the cooperages.
Oh, Kelvin Cooperage.
So, and Kelvin, I know we've talked about it a lot with Foregate. That
Yeah.
comes up whenever you hear that. A lot of collaborations there. But what he said is the time is based on how the cooperages want to formulate their char 1 through 5, and then whether or not they do a heavy toast or a medium toast, and also the time in the season. So what it works out to is at minimum 30 days in barrel, up to 90 days in the second barrel.
Okay.
So really you're looking at up to 3 months as a second barrel. And then what they do to be able to do their blend is they'll have a 28% rye mash bill, and then a 99% or high rye, and then a 99% corn, and the last one's a 45% wheated. And they'll hand blend all of those mash bills and choose how they want those to define the way this bottle comes out to be individual. And then they look at the different chars and the different toasts. So like the Georgia Select 1 was a char 3, and it was a medium, and this one's a heavy.
Yeah.
So
You said they're blending in 99% corn mash bills into that. That's a light whiskey. That makes sense as to why this tastes the way it tastes. So
yeah, 'cause it's a 4 grain.
that would be, in my book, never would it ever be a bourbon. And it's not, according to me, and according to everything else. It says straight bourbon right there. So as much as Penelope's doing that right there is not a bourbon in any aspect of the definition, because of it being 99% corn. That's a light whiskey.
Yeah, on their sheet where they kind of highlight just this specifically outside the information I got.
Yeah.
It says
If that's in there,
rye
I'll check it
bourbon, wheated bourbon, and then it says a corn bourbon under the 99. It's kind of interesting. the way
Right.
it's pitched.
So if you
Yeah.
go back to
So-
1964, designating Congress and all this, the native spirit, blah blah blah. We'll get into that. We've gone into that before. No,
But I tell you what, I can definitely
51 to 79% corn.
What do you think about the taste on it?
you can definitely get the corn on there. I am definitely getting corn.
It makes sense if that's what if they're saying that's in there now. That
But
makes
it's
sense.
I did not get a lot of ethanol out of the Glen at all.
It doesn't taste as high proof as they're claiming it does. This is a very, very smooth product.
I
for-
think
It
the
is.
toast did that. I think it lightened up because I'm getting the grain and the corn out of this more than I'm getting much of anything else. And so, but I will give it. I think the toast is what is
Yeah.
making it seem lighter than it is for proof wise, and it doesn't drink like 115 at all.
No, not at all.
Do we talk about barrel sizes here? I mean, that's a kind of a little bit of a pet peeve of mine is barrel sizes.
Well,
But
there's all kind of
but I have a-
experimenting with
but
barrel
I have a
sizes.
feeling that what's happening here, and this is I was thinking about your 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks. If you've got a 55-gallon barrel, there's no way that even the product in the middle is going to be exposed to that. But if you've got smaller barrels, then maybe that's how they're getting around it.
53 gallon.
Okay. But with a smaller barrel, you're getting the surface area, and that's potentially how they're getting into some of those flavor profiles.
Yeah, I think that the 4 grain, involvement, kind of the ones that are not Georgia Select or the ones that individual stores can do as picks, will actually have the 4 grain listed on the bottom, and then it would be whatever the store is pick specifically. But then they would still have their char level and the other on the backside too. So, and I misspoke earlier. I said 23% rye. It's 21% rye. I
It's
just
still
double
high
checked
rye.
their sheet.
Yeah, it's still high rye.
It's still a high rye, but
So do you get the sweetness from this?
So yeah,
I'm curious.
So here's my thing: is I'm trying this, but then again, I'm a mellow corn guy too.
Right.
So this is a lot. Like I said, I get less ethanol than I did from the 1910. I can definitely taste the corn in it, but again, that's something that triggers me as far as like, oh, this is good. I recognize this, right?
Right.
All around, this is very solid, and after I've had a chance to let it open up a little bit in the glass, this is wonderful. Now, the only question I have is it still on that same entry level area?
I wouldn't call that entry level.
no, I would say probably mid tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
As far as what's on the table, it's probably going to be at the same price as Short Barrel and Nulu.
I had this lingering, pockets of spice in the front part of the palate.
See, I was going to say that too. You said
Yeah.
you don't get spice out of toasted, and this one,
This
for
one,
me,
you get
one,
spice
yeah,
out of toasted. This
it
makes
jumps
me.
in there.
I think
Yeah.
that toasted barrel that are doing it exactly. I could see now if that Cooper, with what he was saying when he was building those barrels, said imports that. I could see it in this, but not in some of the other ones. But I think that could be the process of, it could be the grain that they're using. It could be the mashes that they're using. So if you're
It
doing
could be the rye.
if you're doing a high rye toasted,
It's definitely the rye.
Yeah.
The rye's great.
and so,
Yeah.
but it's a forward pocket on the palate, and it actually leaves a spice that kind of stops about midway through the tongue, and it just kind of builds there.
Yeah, I get the spice really right up front,
But
right
I'm
on
not,
the tip.
I'm not going to say it's medicinal
No,
to that
it's
level
Christmas
yet.
spices.
It's almost like
Because it's-
cinnamon
yeah,
style
it's
Right.
spice.
It's not the
spices.
medicinal
Yeah,
style
No,
that you
I-
think
I
you're doing
get-
something like anise or anything like that. This is more of a like you said, Christmas style.
I get more nutmeg than I do
You
cinnamon.
get nutmeg,
So
cloves,
baking spice would
cinnamon.
be the way to
Baking
go.
spice,
Yeah, it'd be the baking.
There you go. Yeah.
And then, but I get predominantly corn.
I
is
get
what
so much proof here though.
Do you?
Yeah. It doesn't on the palate has no proof compared to the 115, but coming down the throat and then coming down into the chest cavity
You
is
get
when it
burn,
lets you know
get a
that
little
this
bit
is
burn.
150.
You get a little bit of that
proof.
warmth. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So I had
nothing wrong at all, but that's
water.
where I get it. On the palate, it's just
Yeah.
like this doesn't have 115 at all to it.
But I definitely do get corn. That is that, and I get the rye. Those
That
are the
corn
two
is
predominant
corn
what I
forward.
get.
So would I drink this to replace the Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel? For me personally, no, because like I said, that's mid-tier. And with it being 115 proof and having a little bit more complex, and you get some of that warmth on it.
Yeah.
With us being here in the South, a lot of times when it's 98, 103 degrees in the daytime, you don't want something that's going to give you that warmth all the way down when it's already boiling hot outside, right? So I want to get something that's higher drinkability, so to speak, right?
It's also not your everyday go-to.
No.
Like this
Yeah.
is going to be one of those that you just want to, if you want to think,
There you go.
you want to drink this. If you want to just kind of chillax a little bit, then this is not your bourbon.
So I agree with the
Or not
Patricks.
bourbon.
Yeah, I agree with the Patricks as far as this goes. Drinkability is not as high, but if you want something that's different,
Yeah.
you start with this.
I
And
would-
if you wanted to do a toasted night, let's just say we're doing a toasted night, and you're like, oh, I just want to drink a toasted couple glasses of night before I go to bed, you could start with this, but then I'm going to go Elijah Craig, toasted to finish my next couple. But drinkability wise, flavor wise, depth wise, 1910 for the W on these three so far.
Yeah.
But that's just me, and everybody's palate's different because Elijah Craig's still very easy. This one's got more of a grainy taste to it, which is showing the youth. It's
Yeah.
only 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I'll give you
4 to
that.
5,
4 to
whatever
5,
it is. Yeah.
I
But
think
it's
it's
not. It's grainy, but it's not that Elmer's gluey that you get out
It's
of.
not.
Out of,
it's
out
not
of
like
a
the
lot of
green
these
grains that it's super
microdistilleries.
young in those 2 years they're doing in the smaller barrels.
Yeah.
So I'll
It's,
give you that.
I like this stuff, and I think this is actually one that I would put on my bar for a bourbon geek that walks through the door, and I wanted
Try
to just
something.
be like, hey,
Yep.
I got something for you that's a little bit funky, a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think that I'd win that one all day long.
And
It's
for
something
me-
that it's cool.
For me, it's not what I would usually equate to a toasted. It doesn't. It's got more. To me, it's got more depth to it than I would say this, or what I've had is toasted. It's still a great one. I like exactly what you said. Give it to somebody that, hey, you want to just try something that's a little different. Let's.
We've all got those.
Yeah.
We've all got
Oh,
those
yeah.
on
Oh,
our
yeah.
shelf
Yeah.
that it's and they don't even have to be
Our-
unicorns.
so
They're
the-
just
our
cool
good-
things that we
Yeah.
found.
So the one that I look forward to that moving on
That's-
to next,
Yep.
I think, if you guys are good with this, based off of the higher rye mash and knowing what MGP is doing and where they're sourcing from, and knowing that the other one is Kentucky per what it says on the label, I say we go Nulu next.
Yeah.
Which I know this
Yeah,
wasn't the
sounds good.
plan as far as the order, but
Tell me about Nulu. I don't know anything about that distillery. I don't know anything about that.
so Nulu is actually in Louisville or Louisville, Georgia.
Louisville.
Yeah, it's in Louisville, and they actually there's a whole Nulu area down there. It's really cool, especially when you go through there on like the scooters and you're going downtown, hitting up the different distilleries and different bars and things like that. And so they're in that imparted area, and they source most of their things, if not all. I'm not sure of any of their own brands yet. Everything that we're getting in is mostly MGP,
Yes.
and
MGP.
it states it tells
It
you
does,
that.
yeah.
So they're doing their own twist to it. So whether it's going to be toasted or if they're going to do a specific blend or batch for Georgia. A couple of the Nulu batches that came through for Georgia were not a single barrel, but it would actually tell you on there what it was and who it was for. And then if you look on certain sites, there's Nulu out the wazoo,
Yeah.
if you want to call it that, and all kind of different things that they're doing.
And this one is a single barrel select too.
So are they aging or are they just doing their own blending? What's happening here?
Still don't know as far as that goes.
Okay.
They've only been around a short time. I remember when they first hit as far as like social media and they're going to be around, and then we found out that we're going to have access to them in Georgia, but they didn't specifically say if they're just premium picking barrels like other companies do or they're aging.
Okay.
I'm guessing both.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these up and coming companies, that's what they do.
And this.
I
is
don't
the
know
one-
that, and I don't know that. I'm not saying that I do know that.
Well,
This is the one I was really looking forward to.
Yeah.
Sorry,
a lot of that. if
So
you
what do
think
you
about
what do
it-
you get on the nose with
I
this?
haven't
one?
even tried it yet.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
So
But
the other Nulu that Georgia got was
that good, huh?
So
Now, when I traveled, I went to Mississippi, and there was a store there that had. In fact, I sent Justin a picture of it because Nulu was still. I was still trying to figure out if this was something I wanted to try, and I was like, well, there's Nulu for days, and there was 30 different colors of Nulu or something.
there
It was
is.
like,
There's so much.
it was like a port finish, whatever. If you named it, there was a
So
was
they
a
hit
sticker.
the ground running.
Oh yeah, I mean, they must have been on day one.
They
you know.
did. And
But
let me go ahead and say one more thing about our glasses that we're using. And thank you to Ralph in the background,
Yep.
and thank you to Ralph for hosting this location and letting us use your place.
Appreciate it, Ralph.
So that being said, this to me is like the more bulbousy and larger Glencairn, and we should have had these on our glassware.
We
video.
should have. Yep.
But we didn't, and so now we are using them tonight. These are some of the best nosing. I've now ranked this higher than the Glen and the other for actually nosing. This is my favorite nosing glass. Actually.
Now, Patrick was just asking me, and I'd be curious to see what everybody gets on the nose right off the bat on this one.
Well, I cheated. I tasted already.
Okay.
Oh, you cheaters.
So what do you get, Justin, on the nose?
Justin, do you want to say anything about who picked that barrel? I could tell you if you want to.
Yeah, by all means, say.
So that's a single barrel select from the Bourbon subreddit. So it's a guy named Take. His real name is Jay. They have a channel called Weekly Whiskey.
Okay,
So
very cool.
Ah,
hey,
appreciate that.
thank you for
Awesome.
bringing that.
Yeah.
And I hope you're having a glass with us if you would need a.
I drank all that you guys did.
You're saying you kind of like it.
We're drinking over it.
Have you tried our control?
No,
We
but
had
I'm
all-
gonna try the Penelope when we get back.
Yeah, we always have to mention the control. Always have to, and you need to try it. It's good.
So,
It's
okay.
very good. What are you getting on the nose? I'm curious, just nose. What did you get on the nose?
I get like toasted brown sugar.
Really?
You know, like a brown.
I got
sugar.
spice.
yeah,
I'm not getting anything other than like some baking spices though.
That's
like I said, yeah.
yeah. I got
Yeah.
spice.
And so not only now one thing that we should say, Nulu is Prohibition Craft. What the heck is the S? Prohibition Craft
Spirits.
Spirits. Yeah, Prohibition Craft Spirits. So that's actually the location. I just went blank on that. Uncut, unfiltered. And so that's the one that's down there. And so they do the Nulu brand. It's not actually, but there's a Nulu area and it's like there's signs all over the place. It's really cool. But I get the spice on that, but this one actually drinks really nice.
This On the nose, it's when you say spice, it's less Christmas spice that we got on the last one.
Right.
It's more like Moroccan spice. So I'm getting some.
It's a sweeter spice.
It's
So it's got the spice, but it's more like it's not.
To me, I got more of a cinnamon.
Yeah, I say it might not be
That's
cinnamon, but that
cinnamon.
cinnamon is
It's
close.
cinnamon, yeah,
It's
cinnamon
real
close
cinnamon.
to-
Yeah,
I
it's
think
very
it's-
close.
I think this is way more drinkable than Penelope.
Extremely.
I would agree.
Extremely.
I would agree.
This is one of those, if I wanted to come in on a hot day, I would almost put this on the same level as the Elijah Craig Toasted as far as the drinkability. You come in and you take a sip of this and you're like, man, that's good.
They
It's
killed it
easy
with
to
this
drink.
one on the barrel proof for being that higher proof. This is drinkability out the.
This one is good.
This is
no, now drinkable, yes, 100%. But the nose for me almost betrays the flavor.
I would agree.
Because when I taste it, I'm getting a ton of licorice. I'm getting a ton of like,
That's a
and not,
anise,
and not
yeah.
like not like sweet candy, caramely American licorice.
Right.
This is like the
it's
German,
sweet.
like
It's sweet.
Swedish, nasty, just raw. You know, the kind of tarry stuff. And
Yeah.
I love it. I love that.
It's-
I love
it
that
is a-
flavor.
So you're saying it tastes like tar?
I'm saying it tastes like Swedish licorice.
So I went out
like
to this
real
brand
licorice.
new, paved road the other day and licked it, just so I.
Just so you could understand what's on it.
So you're there.
Oh, I'm there.
Yeah, okay.
Day 2 stuff.
Oh yeah.
But no,
One of the funnier things that you can do if you're actually at the distillery and get to go through the barrel process is, and I tell this to everybody that goes, if you're seeing all these barrels aging and you see this stuff just seeping through, just barrel seepage, and then I was like, you got to lick it, or you got to put your finger on it and taste it.
Yep.
And you'll do it one time,
Oh.
and you'll never do it again.
Yeah. and so you got to do it.
I personally don't lick random stuff that I come across, but that's just me.
Oh, it's in a rick house.
Not yet.
And it smells
Yeah.
so amazing in a rick
Once you
house.
see that barrel, you're like, I've got to know,
Yeah.
and you're just like,
And it smells amazing in a
yeah,
rick
it
house.
smells
Oh,
so good. You're
God.
like, it smells
Oh.
amazing. It's got to taste good. Then you're just
Surely
like,
it's some of the angel share leaking out, right?
Surely.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
ooh man, is it ooh.
it's on a different level.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, man. I've been to a ton of rick houses, a ton of them. I have never licked a barrel.
Really?
I've never had a desire to lick a barrel.
So I now present a challenge to
You know
Patrick.
how many dudes have picked up that barrel and all their hands are just all over?
They don't
that
touch
thing?
the goo part.
What's sterilized
Dude.
inside, right?
on the inside.
Double
but
charred.
You're
and,
licking
you
the
got some
outside.
alcohol in it.
I
It's
mean,
fine.
the char is a filter.
How many pigeons and like all kinds of stuff are in that?
Hey,
thing?
some
Why
guys,
are
hey, some
pigeons
guys
in the
lick
rick
windows,
house?
okay? Some guys lick windows.
They just
Why are pigeons in the rick house?
just getting
Because
better.
their doors are open. Your doors are open on both sides.
There's some.
This one's I enjoy it. This one I was looking forward to this and it did not disappoint.
No.
At
No,
all.
this Nulu is very pleasant, and if you could find it, I want to go find a bottle of it
Yeah,
now.
this one is great.
Yeah.
Now,
Holy
granted, it's gonna be kind of hard to find a bottle.
Now, we've
again.
been-
Who brought this one? Price point wise, entry level, mid tier, premium.
So Nulu's going to be a little bit higher.
It's a little bit higher, but also it was shipped.
Yeah.
So it was probably over $100.
Now this is standard single barrel, so I can tell you right now, regular retail on the shelf for the ones that we get into Georgia area, the market is going to be the higher end.
Yeah.
And that's the way Nulu works. That's fine, and I wouldn't.
Worth it.
Yep, I think it's worth it.
Oh, I would be curious
For sure.
now just
That's
to get a
great.
regular.
Yeah.
Compare
that's
it-
my
compare it
concern
to the
too.
single-
Like, what's
yeah.
the single barrel?
Right,
versus-
compare it
So
to the
this is
single
the
barrel.
standard
'Cause it's the
batch
store
versus
pick.
the single barrel. So this is a one picked barrel of toasted, which is really cool that you can do that. Kind of makes you wonder, hey, who's gonna do the first Elijah Craig toasted barrel pick?
Yep.
It's gotta happen.
It's
eventually,
gonna
I would think.
That would be
Now,
amazing.
now,
Holy
isn't the
moly.
regular a higher proof than the single barrel that's chosen? I thought it was like 112 to 113.
Depends on the barrels because they're all barrel proof now. They're doing batches for Georgia.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so that's it depends on what they picked at the moment for that barrel versus what is actually being batched for Georgia
Okay.
because it comes with that logo on it. One of their just kind of like the Penelope. This is for this. Same idea. And again, as far as like everybody that's willing to watch and listen, thank you guys again for joining in. Click, subscribe, all that fun things. Augusta Bourbon Society, look them up.
Yep.
This is our first collab with them. This is gonna be more of a little bit of a toasted drinking lab than it is anything else. And I had one heck of a fun time so far. So thank you guys again
Yeah,
for
really
for-
appreciate
Toast
it.
to toast to toast it.
toast to toast.
Yeah, toasted, toasted, yeah. I mean, that's the whole point, though, right? I mean, we can analyze and, as you said, nerd out about bourbon as much as you want, but at the end of the day,
Can't we just enjoy it sometimes?
exactly. At the end of the day, it's nice to get together with a group of people and enjoy what you're drinking and talk about what
Yep.
you're drinking.
Kinda
right?
like- so, in case anybody's wondering what's on the counter, so we've got several different things that are going to be behind the scenes. So we got a couple of different picks we got a really cool, I'm excited about.
That's awesome, yeah.
Some other picks. That Twin Oak is
That's
off the chain good.
It's just amazing.
Abraham Bowman, and then we've got the Blue Note Crossroads. All those things are rightfully so for what they do, and it's worth trying every single one.
And
And all
everybody
relatively accessible here in the area.
Well, not the Evan Williams 12 years.
So that Blue Note, I gotta give, since we're giving homage to MGP as far as what Nulu has done, that Blue Note, even though it's toasted staves and not toasted barrel, it's easily accessible. It's very entry point, and the drinkability,
Yep.
the drinkability,
Yeah.
because that's what it's all about. If you don't like drinking it, then why are you
Why
drinking
are you
it?
drinking?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, period. Everybody can talk about, and they can get as fancy as they want to about, oh, I get the tannins of this and that. You know, no, dude. I'm sorry.
What's the tan?
Do you like? I don't know. Nope. I mean, like, do you like drinking it, or do you not like drinking it? Right?
Welcome to Bourbon Banter Evans and Augusta Bourbon
We don't,
Society.
we don't know what tannins are.
We've had four, and who we refer to as OPP, because this is Patrick and Patrick. This is Patrick Pierce. Oak tannins we'll leave alone.
Yeah.
You know,
Alright,
it's interesting
so
you brought
let's get
something
that
up
short
about the
barrel.
Blue Note.
Do we want to finish this up with short barrel, or do we want to keep it on with the video? Should we call it a day? Let the viewers have a
Yep.
chance. Give
Let's
us a
do
chance.
the short barrel.
Yeah,
Let's-
we're
I mean-
doing toasted. We might as well. We got it up there.
Yeah, I mean, we
almost
can
have
always,
a-
If you guys are up for it, then we can extend it on.
Yeah,
Charles, you think we're looking okay on time?
Yeah, I
I was
think
looking at
we're-
the
yeah.
watch. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Let's go ahead and do the short barrel, guys.
yes.
We'll
I
start
don't know
making
about you
this-
guys, but I just got flashed in
Start
the
with
background. It was
excellent,
fantastic.
I'm making my own
I'm,
blend over here.
I'll tell you what, I'm impressed with the new one. I am very impressed.
That Nulu is very.
I not knowing the brand,
And I'm not very
knowing,
familiar with it
knowing,
either. I've had a
knowing
few.
that they were a young brand,
Yes.
and the experiences I've had with a lot of young brands,
Yes.
I was not anticipating
I-
as great of an experience.
No,
as
to be
it
honest
was.
with you, I was expecting it to be horrible.
Well,
That's kinda where I was
it's,
going.
It's back to the economics of starting a new distillery is
Oh, gosh.
really challenging,
Yes.
right? So you get a lot of that Elmer's gluey stuff coming from small barrels, coming from like too young of stuff that they're releasing. But man, you got to get cash flow if you're going to be trying to do this
Put
as a
stuff
game.
out.
Yeah.
That's why
You've
so
got
many
to put
distillers
something
have
out.
vodka.
Vodka or gins or everything
Yeah,
else.
You've got to get cash
Or
flow.
rum,
and
you
so,
know.
so, or you do it something like the Willet guys, and the Willet guys were buying for a very long time. They ran a
KBD.
They ran their own rick houses, so they were aging things, and then it took them a long time to get that cash flow. But then once they started their still, now they're putting out great stuff that they are making themselves. So it's all about like how you approach it. If you're going to go the vodka route, a lot of people don't want to go that route.
Right.
Right. So shout out to Short Barrel. This is a local company in
Yes.
Georgia. So shout out to Short Barrel. Go check them out. Look them up on social media. Look their website up. I think they have everything. This is a local picking group that was based out of Atlanta, to my understanding. And so they were so well known for their picks, they decided to start what is a great idea. Let's
Let's start
start our own company.
Yep.
And so we'll start sourcing some barrels. We'll get them out there. We'll pick the barrels. We'll hand select them. We'll do different things. They do great ideas.
They do.
And they've had some old stuff around 15 years. Then they've had some newer stuff around the 3 years with toasted finishes. Then they've also had some weird stuff with the El Jefe,
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
which I'm not into, but
No.
there's always somebody out there that has a palate that is ready for it. So shout out to Short Barrel in the local area, meaning Georgia.
Yeah.
Cheers to you guys.
Hashtag bourbon goals.
Oh, I thought you had some. Yeah. So thanks to Short Barrel. Appreciate this one.
Cheers.
Glad that we're able to get you guys' products in our area so that we can enjoy them or not enjoy them. We're hoping that your pick is good.
Well, and somebody might like it, somebody might not, and it
Hey.
doesn't matter. It
No.
does not matter at all.
I mean, everybody has different tastes,
Yep.
right?
That's what it
And
is. That's
yeah.
what we're here for.
And guess what? Today it might taste great. Tomorrow it might taste not nowhere near as good as it
Right.
did the other day.
I think a good example of that too was the honey finish that came out with the beekeeper and the bee's knees.
Oh yeah, that's
You know,
right.
Yeah.
I
I'm
got
glad
the
you-
beekeeper from Justin, and I regret not having gotten a second one. I really enjoyed it, but it was just one of those really interesting, almost like a craft style that
Yeah.
they went after, and it was great. You know, for a company that small to come out with something that I thought was really a hitter.
That's right, Steve.
That's
Thank
great.
you for bringing that up. They did the beekeeper and the bee's knees, which is the honey ones.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up. They got
And
known
that's
for
kind of
that.
that's kind of another craze.
They
Yeah.
made a buzz.
And that's the thing is there's a lot of
We'll be here all night.
there's a lot of people who are
Uncut
doing
fellas.
there's a lot of people who are doing the honey thing
Yes.
as well, and I think that's another episode. We could have another episode just on the honey phase of it.
Only if I get to bring my personal aged Eagle Rare honey.
What do you mean by personal aged?
I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Yeah. Okay, so
So what are we getting here?
Nose, I'm having a tough time with this one.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
the nose is very empty. but
I'm
the
not
palate
getting
on this,
much
It
in.
comes alive.
all right, so again, we talked about this before. In your glasses, if you guys are doing Glencairns or the larger Glencairns that we are talking about, and I'm trying to talk slower, everybody knows that after I have a couple of drinks, I talk kind of fast. Welcome to DC.
After a couple drinks.
I talk fast all the time? Okay, my fault. So, if you're getting that strong ethanol, just kind of
Yeah.
tilt the glass
Yep.
and you just do a puff of air, and then the nose. And always crack your mouth. We've talked about this before too. We've done this in video. So
Oh yeah.
that gets your entire olfactory system into it. Now, if we're going to be nosing this one, no offense to the other ones that we've done, I've done this naturally, but we're going to talk about this real quick with short barrel. Your olfactory system, the way it works is your nose and your brain reads crosses. So if you aren't used to it, close your nose, and this brain will read one. Close your nose hole, that brain reads the other. Or you
Or
can do
nostril.
what we naturally do: nostril, nose, nostril,
Nose hole.
and roll it. Yeah, nose hole.
Those whole
now I mean,
Yeah.
now
I like
I'm not
nose
gonna
hole.
sit here and like look weird doing that.
But
I'm
no,
just
no,
gonna be
we
like
roll it.
one nostril. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll do that.
Just
Yeah.
chop up the bourbon.
Just chop up the bourbon. We're not
Oh, who's Kentucky? Who's going to Kentucky choose this one?
Kentucky Chew. Wow.
No.
This one is a lot hotter than any of the other ones we've tried tonight.
I
in my opinion.
I don't think proof wise it is. I think it's got just.
Well, of course, the Penelope takes the cake as far as proof goes, but I'm talking as
It
far as
feels hotter.
the taste that you get
I'm
with that
with you.
heat. Yeah,
It feels hotter.
it's Now here's the thing. I know several guys who like the higher proof. I'm sorry, was that obvious
No,
enough to
it's
look
okay.
at?
Let's get out of here.
But who like the higher proof and like some of that heat taste to it. Me, I mean, maybe if I lived up north, I would like some of that heat to my taste. But it's just so hot down here that if it's I'm already hot and I'm having to taste stuff that's even hotter. I mean,
Hey, there's nothing wrong with cooling it down. Adds a couple drops of water.
Oh,
Take your water actually real quick, and then do 3 small drops into this. So we used to do this with Scotch a long time ago, especially the peaty ones. It's super fun because
Right.
it turned into like 3 different ones. So actually, I'm gonna do the same.
I was
I'm
about
gonna
to
do
grab. I was about to grab
I did
another
that. I did that
cube.
with the Penelope.
Yeah, that would be the only way.
That's
That'd be the
kinda
way. to go.
natural.
So I've got a little bit left over, and I'm gonna do a couple drops of what I've got left
Yes.
actually.
To me on this.
So I'm about to add a cube to this because as it slowly melts and it cools it down some, it makes it
So let's go and.
You know what I
Will you
find?
pass me
This is very, very remnant of like Elijah Craig 18 to me. It has like a really heavy oaky presence to me, even though it's quite young. Which I think on the back of the bottle it says a few long summers or something like that, right? It's how it reads. So I guess it would be around 3 years,
Yeah.
plus or minus. But really, it feels like it's something that would be kind of up there with like a Woodford Double Oak or something. It has a lot of oaky presence
Dude,
to me specifically.
Water opened it up.
just cut it with a little bit of water.
But see, I automatically on the front, I got sweetness on this one.
really.
Yeah,
Wait till you
it's a
put a
very
little bit-
sweet
wait till
version
you
of
put it-
Elijah Craig 18.
To me, this is sweet, but wait till you put some drops of water in there.
So that's my thing is everybody talk.
Mind handing me a-
There are a lot of people that I've run into as far as with the bourbon stuff that they're what I call purists. If you're not drinking it neat from a Glencairn, you're wrong,
See,
right?
I was afraid that you guys. So you just, for anybody who can't hear it, you said honey. I tasted honey. I held my tongue because y'all had been talking about honey, and I was like, oh, maybe I just got Pavlov dogged right there. But unfortunately, I also continue to taste honey. So
Yeah,
It's very like faintly beekeeper to me. Like
is-
like
I mean,
on a small level.
Yeah, to me, I didn't know what to say honey was. It was sweet to me.
Yeah.
It's just sweet to me.
But it's not the caramel and the vanilla.
No,
It's honey.
No, it's not caramel or vanilla.
No. But it's almost sweet with that hint of I will get the oakiness, but it doesn't have the drying effect.
Right.
It's more along the lines of you're tasting the oakiness, not
Yep.
the drying.
But I
effect.
still get
Yeah.
the standard proof that sits forward on the palate.
Yes.
That tells me it's young. So that's the grain that's speaking up and saying, hey, I'm not the oldest aged barrel, and it stays on the tip of the tongue, and then it rolls back. But this one goes past the middle of the palate for this one specifically, and it kind of sits on the back part. Now rolling down, there's nothing.
Yeah.
But as far as it's actually after the drink and you've had it, and you have to think about it, you raise your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you get that taste. That's when it compresses it, and that's when you realize that, okay, now I'm getting the character that's left over. This is the residual. This is what this whiskey's going to do. It's actually really nice, but it's got that honey note to it. But at the same time, the proof then stays right there.
You get it on the tip.
Do we know?
Not
Do
as
we know
much as
how
the-
old this one is?
3.
It does not taste like a 3 year.
No, it tastes much beyond that.
It tastes significantly young.
It does.
Three to me is
So-
very specific.
So
And
should
you
we
can-
give compliments to them for figuring out
They got.
Oh,
over
yeah.
it.
that whiskey with that
They've done a
toast
good. They've done a good
paired
job.
and matched well?
Yes.
So
They-
I say kudos.
They've done.
Yeah,
They've done a
absolutely.
good job with the toast. Everything. It's a good bourbon.
I mean, for being as young as it is, like I said, 3 years,
What I would like to know is what their source is, because we know they're based out of Kentucky. I mean, based out of Atlanta,
Yeah.
and this one is sourced from Kentucky.
Yep.
Uncut, unfiltered. My guess is
I know what I would say. I know what I would say.
You thinking Evan Hill? No. Where are you thinking?
I'm thinking Bardstown.
Yeah, I think it's a little.
I'm thinking OZ Tyler or Bardstown Bourbon Company.
I'm thinking Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Yeah, it's got kind of like a blue note kick to me, as far as like, I don't know. I would say OZ might be probably.
Could
more
be OZ.
accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
Blue Note is OZ Tyler.
I know that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe it's
Yeah.
just real
Oh
similar.
yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Now
Like you
Crossroads
said,
is
it lives on
MGP.
like the back of your throat a little bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that
I'm
finishes.
I'm digging those two.
So how about this? If you had to pick one of those lineups tonight, which one would you choose and why?
What
you guys
are we
gonna
picking
go
for though? Like what are their criteria?
Well,
Yeah, I think.
which
it's
one do you
friends
like?
or what?
Which one do you like the best? As in, like, if you were to have an option of all 5 of these on a standard day to drink, which one would you pick?
So standard day. That's a different perspective. I'm 1910 still.
You're still 1910.
It's 1910 for a standard everyday type of
Justin,
thing.
you can't sit still.
What is happening?
I can't. No, we're good.
Uncut, unfiltered.
No,
What?
1910 for an everyday drinker.
Right.
Mainly because Patrick, one of the things that kind of Augusta Bourbon Society is really good at is pushing things that are really entry level, really accessible.
Accessible and
And
good entry level drinks.
I don't want to be pretentious.
Well,
I
here's
don't want
my
to.
thing.
I don't want to freak people out. And that 1910 is awesome for that.
It is.
And I tell you, I feel like, in my personal opinion, like, I'm not trying to adopt some weird motto, but like, I feel like bringing good bourbon to the people, right? I mean, that
This
sounds
is
weird.
not what is in the bottle, but as we
Oh,
diligently
I was- I
talk,
forgot
this
about
is what we're gonna do.
Well,
Now, for me, I would say the
Very nice
toasted,
for that one.
the toasted, the short barrel. I was very, very reluctant on that based on the way it read. It seemed almost like it was a really great story on the back of the bottle, but it was going to fall short for me. And I like proof between like 101 to 125 ish, kind of in that neighborhood. But I'll start with Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel frequently, and then I move into that. But I would be happy with short barrel as kind of like friends over. Plus, it's a little bit of a specialty company, kind of help grow that brand for them.
I'm with you on that
I
one
like
too,
that,
for
yeah.
sure.
Now-
For entertaining purposes.
Availability, though, I don't know. Maybe you could speak more to this, though. Is that going to be a yearly release? Is this going to be like an everyday? From what I understand, it's going to be like a consistent offering.
So the 101s are part of their line. Try what's in that right now as we're ending it
Yeah,
up. in the
so
sense of
It's like maple
he
syrup.
chose the 1910. and
He chose short barrel.
You chose the short barrel.
Yep.
How about you?
So every day, I gotta stick with that Elijah Craig Toasted. I know it's only released in an ABC, but when it's there. It's at an entry level price point, and it's absolutely delicious, and you can drink it all day. It doesn't
We
matter.
haven't tried this one yet.
Well, you're right, But it doesn't matter if you're giving it to someone who wants to get into the bourbon game as far as being a bourbon, person, or whether you have a father-in-law who's drank Jim Beam his whole life, and
Those are the hardest ones to completely
Right.
to
But-
come over to our side of trying
agree.
stuff is the I've drank Old Charter, I've drank Jim Beam, I've drank Evan Williams my entire life.
But
But you know what?
If you find something
they're
that can do
accessible though, in that we've already got them into the
You
into the on the bourbon side of things.
Sure.
They're not
Yeah.
skinny girl margaritas.
So-
that's a different
Lord.
conversation.
So for me,
I never thought
here, it's a no-brainer for me. It's the 19.
1910, yeah, I agree.
1910.
All day, every day.
Yep.
The W goes to 1910 on this one. It's going to be hard to compete with that as far as that goes. Now, again, this is going back to a little bit of history that we talked about in the Old Forester lines, the Whiskey Row series. And so, is it toasted?
It is.
More than
It's
likely,
toasted.
it is because that's what Brown Forming does.
Right. That's
As
I mean
far
that's
as
what
it
they
is.
do. But
Yeah. And
To
so
me-
that's what makes this one really fun right here, as far as trying to figure out what this is. Now I borrowed a pint because that's what I do for small amounts. I use those things for decanters. Obviously you can see how old it is. Obviously this is not from 2015.
So
And
what's interesting to me is that everybody chose the cheapest bottle in the lineup as their favorite.
Except me.
Right.
Because
That's right,
of your
yeah.
because
It's
of
a
your
little more
criteria,
muted.
you said we want something that's kind of an everyday thing.
Well, I mean,
And I would say for bang for buck, that is awesome.
And you do my 1910?
Yeah, the 1910.
That's not the cheapest in the lineup.
No?
It's just the best.
Okay.
that 1910s. I mean, okay.
Yeah, it's about $5 off.
So as far as
Unfortunately, the Whiskey Row
I'm not
series-
sure. I'm not sure we're allowed to talk pricing here.
No,
but I can
we
tell
try
you
not
what-
to.
try not
But I can tell you right
entry,
now.
mid, or high tier, right?
Right.
You know?
Unfortunately, all the old fear. Old
Like
and
Foresters
subscribe.
all took a
Price
level months ago,
Oh, wow.
and so now we are now sitting above the Elijah Craig area. Yeah.
So if I had to pick, like, as far as what tastes the best, the Elijah Craig and the Nulu are just right there neck and neck in my field.
Now, what we're not going to talk about is what you think this is, but how good is that toasted?
It is very tasty.
The nose on it's really good.
and it is just smooth.
Yeah. So
So he
the,
hits at about like 107 proof.
the
plus or minus.
unregistered Bourbon X that we are drinking right now.
My goodness.
No, I'm not getting that.
Very specific.
All right, guys,
Maybe
in the background,
107 to 110
we're,
plus or
we're
minus.
winding down. You got to try it.
I am. I'm gonna disagree. I don't like the nose on it. I do like the palate on it.
So here's the thing. From tasting of it, though, it has a little bit of a drier, spicier finish to it.
I get the spice on that.
I get the spice.
Well, I get that.
So this tells me that it's a rye mash.
Yeah, this is. Like I said, you're right. As far as the
That's the
rye
mash,
goes.
though. That's what I get from the actual flavor from the actual bourbon. So if you were to put this in front of me in a blind, never would I ever think this was wheat.
No.
Never would I ever know this was toasted.
No.
But what I would realize is like this to me tastes like a standard mash, which a
It's
standard
not
mash
even.
is
You,
rye.
you can taste the rye, but it's not even a high rye.
It's not.
No,
No,
it's
I
just
would
a-
never believe this is
it's
high
a-
rye.
no. Right,
I
no.
can just tell that it's there.
Yeah.
And so, not to go away from what ABS is talking about as far as the bottles in front of us, but just for a brief moment because we are trying to wind down.
Right.
And thank you guys again for joining in. Cheers to you
Cheers.
guys.
And like and subscribe. Augusta
Please.
Bourbon Society. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
join
thank
us.
you
Join,
so much.
join
Thank you
us.
so
We got
much.
about 1,000.
I mean,
members
we
this
are
month.
very close to
I heard
having
about that.
1,000 members. Yes.
Yes.
Our whole, like I said, our whole point is whether you're very new or experienced, we're here. We're all about just bringing in people and having good stuff to drink. I mean, it's that simple.
So we're gonna post this video on both and all sites if you guys are good with that. Let the admins approve it, of course.
Do you know any admins?
PP and
Just
PS.
one, maybe one or
So
two.
PP and PS will approve it, I hope. Yeah. Then we'll post it on our site, so of course we'll be on YouTube.
You'll be
and all that
YouTube
stuff,
and
so-
Facebook, yep, and we'll have it out there. And again, guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate you guys
Yes.
being
Nice
here.
to meet all.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Very
And
nice.
Absolutely
I
wonderful.
say one last cheers to freaking bourbon because this is what brings people together and has us have something to do, which is really fun. And
Are you going to talk about? Because you alluded to it. Are you going to talk about why we have to tap the table?
Oh,
I've said it multiple
What?
times. That's
You gotta go watch the
That
video.
is my thing that you have to research, and I can't wait to dive into some of these. So if you're good with that, then I say we sign off and a cheers to everybody and thank you.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks.